Well, I wanted to start off this morning by reading a quote from the series Sing Sab about Kundalini Yoga, White Tantric Yoga, and Gurbani. So I'm not going to try and speak for him. This is what he said. The date of this quote is August 13th, 1978. Way back in the early days, before my time. Okay. To make us ready to receive the Nam, the seed of the infinite, so that Godhead can be sprouted, we do Kundalini Yoga. I'll read that again. To make us ready to receive the Nam, the seed of the infinite, so that Godhood can be sprouted, we do Kundalini Yoga. When we have a mental problem between the conscious, subconscious, and supreme conscious mind, conscious, subconscious, and supreme conscious mind, and the subconscious mind is blocked, it won't let us move on this earth. It won't let us get out of our ritualistic fears of depression and other neurotic nonsense. We do White Tantric Yoga. Okay, so White Tantric Yoga is when there's the relationship between the conscious, subconscious, and the supreme conscious mind is not aligned, and there's such deep blocks in the subconscious we can't move on the earth. To get out of that, we do White Tantric Yoga. These are tools. Gurbani is above all that. The power of the Shabad is not a small power. It is a manifested power. It is a direct dialing code between the finite and the infinite God, and the Shabad is the correct number. It is the telephone number, area code number, zip code, the whole thing, and it does it manifested. We're not talking issues of higher or lower. We're talking issues of what are these things we have in our toolbox as teachers? What are these things we have in our toolbox as healers where we can serve humanity, elevate humanity? Kundalini Yoga gives us a process to prepare ourselves to receive the experience of infinity. White Tantric Yoga helps us clear out really deep subconscious blocks that can be thousands of years old. We carry things from lifetime to lifetime. It's not easy to get out of mental habits. You know, it's not just not easy to get out of the ones you established this lifetime, but you don't even know how many habits you've got that you've been trying to get rid of for 20 lifetimes and you're still trying to shift them. Gurbani is a power that is so powerful, it totally dials you into infinity. The thing I used to talk about was that I did a lot of practices, I've done a lot of meditation, I've studied lots of different things in my life. Nothing touches what began to happen to me when I started doing Japji before the sunrise every day. When I started to do Japji before the Amrit Vela, my life started to change extraordinarily quickly. There was an extraordinary power in it. So this is to know that we have these tools, and Gurbani is, in this tradition, in this path, the way that it's been taught, Gurbani is the power of God. It is the power of the divine teacher. It is a power, if you want to get very technical about it, how many people here have read the book or seen the book Messages from Water? I can't imagine that anybody hasn't been here, okay? Some of you have, okay. So there's this man in Japan who's done this amazing research. What he would do is he would take distilled water and then he would play different kinds of music to it, and then he would freeze that water and then take pictures of the way that the water froze. And what he saw was that sound has such impact on water, it can affect how the water crystallizes. So that beautiful sounds would create beautiful crystals, and then sounds that were very dissonant would actually, the water wouldn't be able to form crystals completely. They would be kind of shattered or half done. And it opens up this, you know, and then the human body is, okay, did you guys take anatomy for your teacher training? How much percent water are we? 80, 90? 85%? Okay, so we are 85% water. So vibration actually creates us. So when we're talking about Gurbani, we're talking about the Shabad Guru, we're not talking about a concept and a philosophy, although today we will be getting into what it talks about on those levels, okay? But we're talking about a sound that allows us to crystallize divinity in the body. That's what it is. And in that, it's a very neutral thing. Like we were talking yesterday, it isn't about what religion you belong to. It's just a sound that was given. And if you meditate on it, your being will start to change. You hold in your pattern, in your electromagnetic field, in your neural network, and in your biochemistry, every trauma you have never processed, you are holding onto it right now. And what you've done is you've developed mechanisms to survive. You have all these little neural nets inside that say, here's where the trauma is held. I'm going to create a whole neural net to allow that trauma to exist. And I'm going to just be functional. And I'm just going to let that part of my neural net and biochemistry hold the trauma in a way that I can live with it. One of the hardest things for me when I was studying with the Sri Singh Sahib, he was a master, is that he refused to let me have my weaknesses. The key to our healing is that we have to be willing to go through those experiences that force our patterns of holding the pain and holding the trauma to break. Does that make sense? Let me say that again. Every one of us has patterns inside of ourselves where we are holding the trauma, and we're very comfortable there. We develop those patterns to survive, you know? Whatever abuse you've been through in your life, whatever betrayal you've been through, whatever disappointment, wherever your soul wanted to express itself and it got beat, it hurt that it got beat. And you created something inside of yourself, a mechanism to handle it. Okay? But that mechanism, that's the energy in you that's handling it, is now not free to live. Does that make sense? You can't live where you're holding on to your past trauma. You're dead in those places inside of yourself. So you live 50% or 30% or 80% or 66%, but you're not living 110%. You're not living your whole divinity. You're not living your whole experience. And the process of having to change that is the process of letting those experiences come into complete expression so they can completely dissolve. When you hold something, you keep it alive longer than it needs to be. Okay, so how many of us have had in our sadhana the experience, we're sitting there doing the chanting, and then all of a sudden some yucky feeling comes up. How many of us have gone through that, right? But you keep chanting, and eventually the yucky feeling goes, and depending on the depth of the trauma you're processing, you might not have to deal with it again, or maybe you got to deal with it for a while in your sadhana. But at some point, that's the power of the Shabad. That's the power of the sound current. That's why Yogi Bhajan taught mantra with every aspect of Kundalini Yoga. If there's no mantra given in Kundalini Yoga, still you're inhaling Sat, exhaling Nam internally. Because it's the Shabad, it's the sound current, it's the vibration that's getting in there and on a micronuclear level, forcing the patterns that have been set to change. And that is what the Shabad Guru is. The Shabad Guru is that teacher that gets into you at the deepest level, identifies where the blocks are, and by the very vibration of it, breaks those blocks so you can realign with your spirit and you can live your real, genuine reality.